Delhi's newly elected Chief Minister Rekha Gupta has reaffirmed her commitment to fulfilling key promises made in the BJP Sankalp Patra, among them providing 2,500 rupees per month in financial aid to women, with the first installment expected by March 8th, that is, International Women's Day. At her swearing-in, expectations were high as people awaited details on major welfare schemes, including the subsidized LPG cylinders by up to 500 rupees, a 10 lakh free medical insurance, and the Jahan Jhuggi Wahan Makan housing initiative. But with the assistance amount now increased to 2,500 rupees per woman in the state belonging to economically weaker sections, the financial burden of the state is expected to surge by 15,000 crore rupees, raising concerns over how the BJP-led government will fund these ambitious schemes. Now, analysts say with Delhi lacking finance commission grants, all eyes are now on the government's budget. Will the capital's new leadership find a way to deliver? We will get you, or try to get you at least, answers to these questions. But first up, let's take a quick look at some of the key promises that have been made by Rekha Gupta. Well, before that, important news coming in yesterday that Rekha Gupta has kept the revenue and finance portfolios, and the question really is that will she be able to deliver on the welfare promises, and can the government really afford them? So let's begin actually by discussing all the schemes that have been announced in the BJP Sankalp Patra and the state of finances at Delhi. Joining us on the show today is Gopal Krishna Agarwal. He's the national spokesperson for BJP for Economic Affairs. Good morning, Mr. Agarwal. Thank you so much for joining us. Sir, the basic question that I think we must begin with is that Delhi is expected to close this financial year. I understand it wasn't the BJP government in Delhi, but this financial year is expected to close with a deficit of about 1,400 crore rupees. Now, these are projections. We really don't know what the numbers will add up to, but 1,400 crore rupees of deficit this year, and it seems that there is going to be a minimum additional expense for the Delhi government of about 15,000 crore rupees for the coming year. What is the strategy? Because as we understand basic economics and basic sort of company operations and P&L statements, you either raise your revenue, which comes mostly through taxes, or you cut your cost. Here we are talking about not raising revenue, but increasing the cost. Mr. Agarwal, if you could unmute yourself, please.
I'm audible?
Yes, you are. Please go ahead.
Yeah. We have to understand how the budget is prepared, because ultimately the size of the budget is very important in any state. And Delhi budget is around 77,000 crores of budget is there. And as you said that there is a deficit of 1,400 crore. What we also have to look into that when we were talking about how we would like to develop Delhi is that we were talking about double engine sarkar. When the state government and the central government align their policies, programs, lot of funds flows from the center to the states. And what was happening earlier with the AAP government was they were not cooperating with the center, neither providing certain data like Ayushman Yojana. They were not agreeing to implement in Delhi. Then several of the schemes which are tied up schemes which depend upon particularly about certain schemes to be implemented by the states and their performance, based on their performance into those schemes.
Right.
The fund flow from the center to the states, and there was a lot of gaps and lack on the part of the AAP government, and that one thing will be in itself will be plugged by our government. Second important thing is when we are talking of an estimated increased expenditure of 15,000 crore, we have to look into how we increase the size of the cake, how we increase the size of the budget. And if we increase the size of the budget from at least 15% in a year, which is a normal growth for a city like Delhi, city-state like Delhi, where there will be good increase, there will be good scope for increase in the overall size of the GDP. Then at least we can increase the size of the budget from 77,000 to 1 lakh crore easily. And the third point is the way AAP government was corrupt, whether it was in the uh, implementation of schemes, welfare schemes, or paying doles to their own workers through giving them the responsibility of being marshals in the roadways, etc. The way the DTC was getting into losses.
Right.
We have seen that public sector undertaking under the Modi government have seen reforms so that the public sector undertaking like DTC, etc., Jal Board, etc., their efficiency,
We'll
their
let's
corruptions
come to the public
will.
sector enterprises in a bit, Mr. Agarwal. I want to understand more in detail. You mentioned expand the cake, increase the size of the pie. How do you do that? Because the formula is fairly simple. If there is more consumption, there is going to be more tax collection. But that is something that the government alone cannot control. And the second part, which adds to GDP growth, comes by way of government investment. So you're saying the government did not make enough investments during the Aam Aadmi Party really leading Delhi and Aam Aadmi Party being occupying the seat of power, primarily because they were not complying with the government. What exactly are we trying to say here, sir?
No, we have to understand in Delhi, lot of infrastructure investment comes from the central government.
That's right.
Whether it is metro, whether it is roads, peripheral roads, expressways, or the flyovers, etc. All these expenditures come from the central government. And then there is a schemes of Jal Jeevan Mission, Har Ghar Jal. All these schemes are to be implemented in an efficient way in the state. So infrastructure investment is not majorly responsibility of the state government, which comes from the central, and the center is going to do it. Even in the expenditure of the Yamuna, the central government has provided lot of assistance. And the third thing that I want to tell you is about the size of the budget is under the GST, the states which have high consumption, they get more benefited out of it. So
That's right.
Delhi has a huge population, and the consumption is higher in
But Mr.
Delhi.
Agarwal, Delhi has had high population for a while. Consumption in Delhi has been peaking and you have still seen the kind of revenue collection that the state has done. My simple question is, how does Delhi government increase its revenue pie to either be able to contain the deficit, if not running into a large one, or being simply able to afford all the schemes that have been announced?
No, if you look into our policies in the various states and the center,
Yeah.
we have never reduced the expenditure for the in to just to finance the welfare schemes. Karnataka is doing that. Himachal is doing that under Congress, but we are not doing like that. We increase the size of the revenue budget. In the center also, we have kept a fiscal discipline. Yesterday, RBI report came which praised how the government has maintained, central government has maintained its fiscal responsibility. Increase the size of the expenditures, increase the size of infrastructure investment, increase the size of welfare scheme. At the same time, kept the fiscal deficit by better and transparent and corruption-free collections, tax collection mechanism through virtual assessment.
If I understand you correctly, in the interest of time, Mr. Agarwal, if I understand what you're trying to say correctly, is that there are going to be more grants coming by way of the central government into the state
No,
of Delhi.
no, not alone grant.
What
It is
else?
better
Apart from
performance.
what the center provides to the state by way of finance commission grants and the central government sponsored schemes, the state government sponsored schemes, where is the money for that going to come from, sir?
That will come from increasing the size of the budget, and the infrastructure expenditure is not required to be made much by the state government. The state government has to increase the tax collection, reduce corruption in the tax collection mechanisms, and at the same time more compliance in the tax mechanism, and plug the loopholes in the welfare schemes and stop paying doles to your own party workers like the AAP was doing, and increase the efficiency of public sector undertaking. Four things I have underlined: increase the efficiency of the public sector undertaking under the state government, reduce corruption from the tax collections, reduce doles to be given to the party workers in the form of appointing marshals, observers, and volunteers, etc., and reduce the leakages from the welfare schemes and make them targeted and reduce number of people who are not actually eligible for the beneficiaries, but still due to corruption and various vested interest, they get into the empaneled into the schemes.
Okay.
These are the and increase the collection through GST and comply more with the transparent mechanism from the state sponsored schemes and get more funding based on performance based, because center is providing funding to the state government based on performance of various schemes. So
Sure.
automatically it will flow more fund
Got
will
it. So
flow.
what you're trying to say is plug in the leaks that were potentially there during the last government, and with that there's going to be a greater transparency in the spread of social welfare schemes. But can I get a commitment from you, from the side of the BJP, sir, that all the welfare schemes that have been promised pre-elections are going to be lived up to? That is my question number one to you, sir. In terms of living up to the commitment and to the promises made, are we sure that all of these schemes that have been promised and the welfare initiatives, they will be lived up to?
Yes, definitely, because it is Modi ji's guarantee. He has
Sure.
said that it is my guarantee that Delhi gets all the promises that have been made by us in our
All right.
manifesto, and 100%. It is not 90 or 98. It is 100%. It will be done
Right.
within the time span that we have promised to.
Okay, and the second commitment I want to bring from you is on the fiscal deficit in the state. Is there going to be a containment of the fiscal deficit, or do you expect the deficit to actually balloon to a much larger number than the 1500 odd crore rupees which have been projected for this year?
We consider macroeconomic parameters. We don't chase macroeconomic parameter as such as fiscal deficit, inflation, etc. They should be byproduct of our economic policies and measures that we take. And therefore, fiscal responsibility and budgetary management is an important part of good economics. And we are committed to good economics and at the same time welfare for the common man citizens and proper distribution of the income for the people. That is our commitment, and fiscal responsibility is what we achieve as a byproduct of our economic policies. We simply don't give if we don't have resources, so that we will divert the development resources to welfare resources. We will try to increase the resources, and through that we will implement fiscal responsibility. Because I look after the economic affairs, this is the policy which has been followed by us in all the states and the center.
All
And
right.
therefore, good economics is good politics for us.
All
And
right.
therefore, people are accepting our promises, that the promises are made to be kept
Right,
by
Mr. Agarwal.
BJP.
Let's leave it at that for now. Well, of course, we will know what the collection of revenue for the state happens to be in coming months from now. But for now, let's at least live on the assurance given by you that all the welfare schemes will be delivered, and the state is also going to be self-reliant, if not completely compliant with the requirements of the central government. But thank you so much, Mr. Agarwal, for joining us this morning.